Hey guys, what's up? Excoundrel here, and I've always wanted to expand my YouTube channel, so I thought I'd do something a little bit different today, and I'd look at health in gaming and the role of physical fitness. Now, for you to understand why I'm passionate about this, it's good that you understand a little bit about me. That's me now, probably the most recent photo of myself taken. But I grew up in an area of England called Norfolk. That's me and my dad there. Loved that picture. Thought I'd show it to you guys. It always makes me smile. Also because I can see how much I look like my dad, which is crazy. But I actually studied medicine at a university in the north of England. That's me with my scrubs and my stethoscope, looking obviously way too excited to go and be a doctor. And I also wrote a thesis during those years on bone biology. Looked at specifically postprandial bone biology, and that means bone biology after you have eaten. It was a really interesting year. The study was hard to do, but I learned a lot during that process. So I've got a lot of knowledge in the medical field because I spent so long studying it. Chose not to be a doctor because it wasn't the career path that I wanted to take, but I learned a lot of valuable lessons and learned a lot of information about the body and the science behind it, and I can now apply that to my everyday life, but I can also use it in gaming. So this video is obviously going to be a lot about your heart. That is the most important muscle in your body. It is the most affected by exercise, and it is the one that has quite an important role in certain aspects of your gameplay. So we're going to look at heart rate, the response of the body to stress, the role of exercise, and the effect of hormones throughout this video. In some way, shape, or form, we will cover these topics. But let's start with esports athletes in their own right. Now, I showed you a very quick clip there. I'm going to slow that down to 25%. And even then, it's incredibly impressive what esports athletes can achieve in the right circumstances. I don't think anybody wants to be compared to traditional sports in esports. We are very different from traditional sports and require a very different set of skills. Such here is your generic esports player, and a few examples of the important skills that esports players need, including hand-eye coordination, quick reflexes, rapid hand and finger movements, and then the mental side of things as well, the decision-making, the ability to process information, communication, leadership, and teamwork, all of which are the complete package for an esports athlete. These are very different skills that you would require in a lot of other traditional sports. Obviously, there are comparisons to be made between chess and darts and so on and so forth, but a lot of traditional sports require such different skills that it's very difficult to make the comparison between the two. But there is a crossover that physical fitness can and will improve your gameplay. Let's have a look at it. We're going to start with heart rate, as this is the easiest parameter to get to grips with when approaching physical fitness. The average athlete will have a resting heart rate of between 40 and 60, whereas the average adult that isn't an athlete will have a resting heart rate of between 60 and 100. A lot of you might ask why the difference is there. It is because of something called Starling's law and the ability for athletes' hearts to pump more blood in a singular pump of the heart than the average adult, therefore not needing to be pumping as quickly to deliver the same levels of oxygen requirements. Now, tachycardia is defined as greater than 100 beats per minute, and this will go up as a normal physiological response to stress and exercise being a form of stress, and can result in some of the side effects as you see to the side of your screen. Now, these could and would negatively impact your gameplay if they were to happen to you in a competitive match, and you can see that it would be a bit annoying to have a loss of coordination or tremors when you're trying to perform something that requires incredible hand-eye coordination and precision. Let's have a look at a small graphic to illustrate why some of these symptoms occur when you have a high heart rate. When you have a regular heart rate, the left ventricle, which is the chamber of your heart that pumps blood to the rest of your body, is filling sufficiently so that every beat delivers an adequate amount of blood to the lungs and therefore an adequate amount of oxygenated blood to the brain. When your heartbeat increases, the amount of blood per beat of the heart goes down and your left ventricle becomes less efficient, therefore delivering less oxygen to the required areas. It is the very, very simple way of looking at it. It's why athletes who have very good exercise and resting heartbeats are able to deliver more blood per stroke of their heart. That's what makes you fitter, essentially. Now, I'm not saying that being physically fit is going to make you the best player on this planet, but it could have a positive effect on the way that you play. There are plenty of esports athletes out there of varying levels of fitness, and fitness often seems to have very little impact in terms of their relative skill. A lot of it also comes down to natural talent and the amount that you practice and play the game itself. So obviously physical fitness can be a minimal impact, but if you're going to take that small minimal impact as a professional player, why won't you take it to give you the edge? A lot of professional teams are now taking this seriously, including the League of Legends Team Solo Mid team, which when I last checked did have a physical training regime, and it seems to have improved their performance. Going back to heart rate, however, I looked at a study from 1986 that was used to show that propranolol, or a beta blocker, which is a drug used to control heart rate and hand tremors, improved shooting accuracy by 13.4%. Now, the study did reveal that the heart rate had no significant impact on how the shooter performed, but it was more to do with the suspected effect on their hand tremors. But to take this a little bit further, I looked at a couple of other studies, and I wanted to look at the relationship between aerobic fitness and the ability to recover and manage with psychological stressors, including competition. And a lot of studies seem to point towards the fact that being aerobically fit helps you deal with psychological stresses better and helps you recover from that situation too. I'm sure a lot of you have been in a situation where you are about to go on stage, you're talking in front of a crowd, and you're getting anxious, and that causes you to have hand tremors. I'm sure this is the same for a lot of people who play on stage in competitive gaming. But it's also important for you when you play your average everyday game of ranked, of whatever game you play, be it Vainglory, be it League of Legends or CSGO. A lot of us do get something called ranked anxiety, and especially when competition gets pretty intense, some of us can feel the effects of that, including loss of hand-eye coordination to the normal level that we play at, or hand tremors, or generally overexcitedness. And a lot of that can be controlled by having a good response to psychological stressors, of which these studies seem to point towards having good aerobic fitness could help with that. Interestingly enough, propranolol and beta blockers are now banned in the Olympic sport of shooting because of the positive effect they have on marksman's precision. You may remember the Chinese Olympic athlete that was stripped of his medals because they found propranolol in his blood, and the fact that that caused a lot of controversy because propranolol is a very regularly prescribed medication. Let's move on to stress. Now, when you are stressed, including when you are undergoing physical activity, your body releases a hormone called cortisol. Now, cortisol's main aim is to increase your blood sugar. That's so that if you are running a far distance or doing a lot of physical activity, your body has a direct energy source, and it does this through a process called gluconeogenesis. Long-term increases in cortisol can affect your mood, your cognitive ability, and your nutrient balance, which is why when you're very stressed, you might find it difficult to concentrate or your thoughts might be racing. This is in part due to the body's response to stress, which is also in part due to the body's response to cortisol. When you increase the blood sugar, it's also important to eat well so that your body doesn't have to rely solely on cortisol for its energy source. It wants to be able to produce its own energy source, obviously, and you can get that from eating well and eating regular meals. The interesting part about all of this is that a lot of studies have shown that physical exercise increases tolerance to cortisol because, just like anything, if you expose your body to a substance over and over again, you're going to build a tolerance to it. And physical exercise is one of the ways to increase cortisol in the body. So you get a higher tolerance and a higher threshold for when cortisol is released. And therefore, you might find that if you are in a stressful situation like a competitive game, your body won't respond with cortisol. Your body won't release the same levels of cortisol, and you might be able to perform as you would do naturally without having the added factor of stress hindering your performance. If we look to professional teams, they are starting to take this more professionally as well. You know, the likes of TSM and Immortals have created positions for sort of personal trainers to produce workout plans and meal plans for their athletes. They are taking a holistic approach to producing a very well-rounded esports athlete, not only very, very good at the game that they play, but also physically fit enough to cope with the stresses that come with it, because, you know, esports events and esports matches produce levels of stress that are similar to that of really hardcore physical exercise. So having the tolerance to that and having the response to that physical stress is really important as well. You can also see a lot of news articles popping up around this now. It's a topic that is being talked about more in gaming and esports, and how having a physical well-being as a gamer can really help improve your performance as well. And I'm not the first person to discuss this, but it is very important to me because of my background, and very important to me because I know that esports will be more widely accepted and gaming will be more widely accepted if we take a holistic approach to the way that we play games. That we realize that yes, it's great to practice games. It's very important that we practice a lot to become good, but it's also very important that we take care of ourselves as well. Very important that we take care of our bodies, because you as a person need to be in prime physical condition to be able to perform in prime condition. It kind of makes sense, right? I think it's a no-brainer. Anyway, so we've covered a lot of topics here. This is really an intro video. If you guys enjoyed it, I'm looking to do more, especially on mental health. I did a survey last January that I haven't published the results of, and now I'm looking to make that into a video, and I think mental health is really important to me as well. So I'm going to be talking about that and how mental health and gaming relate too. So that'll be my next video. But if you enjoyed it, I hope you have. It's a little bit different from what I usually do, and somewhere that I might every so often make a video for my channel. See you soon.